This is a book titled Teenage Baseball Stories, edited by Frank Owen, published in 1947, I believe. Let's make sure of that by going to the copyright information page. And there we go, 1948, actually, or no, 47. Um, okay, no, one of the stories in it was published in 47, and the book itself was in 48. And I came to own this book in the following manner. Um, in May of this year, and this is the year 2025 if you're listening to this in the far future, um, I did a short story challenge on Facebook with somebody else reading short stories along with me. The idea was for every day in May, you had to read a different short story, and you're not allowed to repeat the same author 2 days in a row. And every day we would post what stories that we had read. And early on in the competition, the person doing this with me posted a story from Teenage Basketball Stories, which was a lot of fun. It was just this simple, non-cynical, non-ironic sports stories that depended on the sports competition itself to generate action and suspense. And these sorts of stories were very popular in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. There were pulp magazines dedicated to just sports stories, sometimes specific stories. There was a baseball stories pulp, and a well-written sports story is a lot of fun to read. And so I found a copy of the Teenage Basketball Stories on the Internet Archive so I could read that story as well after he posted about it. And that took me down a rabbit hole that eventually brought me across Teenage Baseball Stories on the Internet Archive. And for the short story competition, one day during May, I read The Pitch Out by H.C. McFadden, which is a fun story. It was a catcher on a local team getting scouted by the pros who helps win a game by calling for exactly the wrong pitch at exactly the right time. And it was just, once again, a fun, non-cynical, non-ironic sports story. And I decided, I could have read the rest of these on the Internet Archive, and I don't mind reading things electronically, but I kind of wanted to own this one. So I found an inexpensive copy on eBay, and the buyer I bought it from ended up accidentally shipping me oh, good heavens. Teenage Stories of the West. So I told them I have the wrong one, but look at this. Look at this. And I open it inside, and it is Teenage Baseball Stories. I never even looked inside. Now I feel horrible because I contacted the seller and told them, you sold me the wrong one. And it's simply, let me see if this one, taking off the dust cover, what it says on the inside. On the spine. It does say Teenage Baseball Stories. So this was either misprinted or for some odd reason somebody recovered it with another book from the Teenage Stories edition. So I feel bad now. I actually contacted the seller and told them they sent me the wrong book. They apologized, and when they couldn't find the correct book, which was understandable because they had sent me the right book, they refunded the money. So they were perfectly honest people, who I had thought had made an honest mistake, but it turns out that we were all fooled by this saying Teenage Stories of the West on the outside. And there is a volume with that title in the Teenage Books series, which we'll be talking about in a moment. So anyway, I found another seller who was selling this. In both cases, it was under $10, even with the postage. These are not expensive books to get used. My brother recently found this one after I recommended it to him at a thrift books in Oklahoma City. So they're not hard to find, and they're not that expensive. So now I own two copies, one with an incorrect spine, of Teenage Baseball Stories, and this is like big news. This is like a scoop in this video that I have discovered that I do own. That the first book I was sent was the correct book, but just with the wrong title on the spine. It's very embarrassing. Now I feel badly. I got to contact the seller and just pay them the money I paid because they did send me the correct books. And if I end up with 2 copies, it's no big deal. Like I said, they were both under $10. So, but now I'm looking at this, and I had what I thought was another copy in the teenage library. But I'm thinking of collecting, at the very least, the other sports stories. There's a lot of neat things in here. Mystery stories, outdoor stories, Teenage Victory Parade. I don't know what that one would be about exactly. Gridiron stories, which is football. There's Sports Parade, which I assume might be a mixture of sports. There's winter sports. There's Stories of the West, the one I thought I owned. Good heavens. That's just so embarrassing. I just looked at the spine and immediately emailed them, hey, you all made a mistake. And they were so nice about it. They're obviously honest people and responsible eBay sellers. Champion sports stories. Treasure chests of sports stories. And I don't know if some of these might be collections of the earlier stories or not. You know, like maybe Treasure Chest of Sports Stories is a collection of some of the stories earlier printed in the Gridiron or basketball or baseball editions. There we go, Teenage Football Stories, and then Teenage Gridiron Stories. So there are 2 separate editions of football stories. But anyway, I definitely like Frank Owen as an editor in the quality of the stories he picks. So maybe I will just collect the Frank Owen ones. There he did one, Teenage Companion. I have, once again, no idea. I have to do some research on this. I could probably find more information somewhere on some of these. But Teenage Sea Stories or Aviation Stories or just Adventure Stories would be cool. You know, I waited all through my teenage years to have an adventure. But did I ever stumble across a murder or get kidnapped by gangsters? No, I never did. Science fiction stories, I would very much be curious to see what they chose for the teenage science fiction stories. And I really do need to do some research. Were these all written mostly for this edition, or were they all published published elsewhere? I mean, in here we only have one copyright notice for a specific story. And the rest, then there's just like a general copyright for the book. So I would be curious, you know, once again, I got to do some research about whether these are all or most of them original to the specific book. And then this definitely is the same book. Yeah, look at that. It just has the wrong spine on it, the wrong cover on it. So it would be curious as to whether that is a publisher error. It hasn't been rebound. This is the original binding. So it's not like it was loose and somebody grabbed, oh, here, I have another cover and from the same series, let's just use that. This must have been a publishing error. But the people that sold it to me, whom I said had made a mistake, did not make a mistake. They sent me the correct book, and I need to contact them again and offer them the money back. They were such nice people. When I explained that I was fooled by the cover, they might just say, don't worry about it, but I at least have to try. Because they did, you know, they were so nice about what we thought was a mistake and did the right thing by it right away. And so, darn you, wrong cover. And I really don't think this has ever been recovered. That looks like the original binding to me. Let's look at the other side. I'm pretty sure that's all the original binding. So, just the general idea that somebody owned the series and had an extra cover from one of them that they were willing to use to rebind this one just doesn't work. This must have been a publisher error. So I can't blame the people who sell. I have to blame Grosset and Dunlap. Whoever was their quality control person in 1947. They've made my enemies list, by golly. So anyway, here it is with the correct dust cover, which is a really neat dust cover, I think. Just book covers just in general are not as cool as they used to be. And it's also in good shape. And I'll be reading through this and I'm sure having fun with it. So there we go. Teenage Baseball Stories, edited by Frank Owen. If you see any of these teenage series even though I've just read stories from a couple of them, a sampling, I really feel in good conscience in recommending these. If you ever see them in a used bookstore, I think it's worth snatching them up. So that's it for now. I'm recording this on Saturday, October 18th, 2025. We are 2 days away from recording the first episode of the Edgar Rice Burroughs or the first episode after coming off hiatus for that podcast, the Edgar Rice Burroughs podcast. So please keep an ear out for that.